Hello everyone, welcome back to the series of object-oriented programming with C++. You can also say that it is OOP in short, and in this tutorial we are going to learn the basic concept of object-oriented programming. Right, so object-oriented programming is a programming paradigm which is based on the concepts of objects, and objects can contain data. They are often called properties or attributes, and also the code in form of methods and functions. So when we talk about object is a real world entity. Like you can say student. Student is a real world entity. Similarly, smartphone or car. All these things are real world entities, right? And an object is called instance of the class. And classes are like they are blueprints or some model, or you can say prototypes, right? So we are going to discuss all these things in detail. And some of the popular object oriented programming, if you say, are C++, Java, Python, PHP, Perl, or Kotlin. All these are object oriented programming languages, right? So let us just discuss about them. Okay, so as we are talking about object oriented programming, and objects are called real world entity. We also said that these objects are instance of a class. And what do you mean by class? So class is basically a prototype of something, or you can also say that it's a blueprint or model. All these are similar words. You can also consider an object like a box which contains some data and methods. When we are talking about data, it is also called attributes or properties. Similarly, these methods are also called functions, or you can also say that these are procedures, right? So an object is like this. The important thing is, when we have some blueprint or prototype, we can derive many of the similar objects from a single model, or in our case it will be a some code, right? So from that code we will be generating multiple objects. For example, you can say that you have a smartphone design. It is just a design, so it can be called a model or prototype or class. But when you start developing multiple smartphones from that, like smartphone 1, smartphone 2, smartphone 3, so these are real world entities and are called objects, right? Now move ahead and let us discuss the features of OOP. So the first feature is encapsulation. It means wrapping up of data and methods inside the class. Or you can also say that inside a entity, and that entity is called class. You can also say that binding the data and methods together, so that these methods can manipulate the data, and these data can be kept safe from the outside interference or misuse. And it also makes sure that this data will be kept safe from the accidental damage. So the point is that you can manipulate the data using only inside methods or using only internal methods. If some code from the outside is trying to access or trying to manipulate the data, they can't do it directly. What they have to do, they have to go through or they have to access the method, and then methods can allow the changes in data, right? So we'll understand this in near future, that how actually this happens, but at this moment this concept is enough. And this encapsulation also leads to the concept of data hiding, or you can also say that it is information hiding, right? So when we will learn about private, public and protected access specifier, you will learn more about this. So moving ahead, let us discuss about second concept, which is called data abstraction, and it means that hiding the complexities from the user. So which complexities should we hide? If there are some unnecessary complexities or details, that should be hidden from the user. Only required things should be shown to the user, right? For example, when you are driving a car and you apply brakes, you don't know what is happening internally, right? You just know that you have applied the brakes and car has been stopped. Similarly, when you accelerate, you don't know what is happening internally, right? So this was a mechanical concept, but let us move to another example and see how it works for the software engineers, or the daily or real life example that you have seen. So let us move to some messenger. You can go to the WhatsApp messenger or maybe Facebook or any other, right? So there is a window where you type message, right? And then there is a button, maybe there is some placeholder that has a word written send. So whenever you click on this button, click, the message is sent to another party. Maybe this is smartphone A, another is smartphone B. It has WhatsApp, it has also WhatsApp. So whenever you click send from here, message is sent and received at this end on the smartphone B. But whatever is going on the background, you don't know that, right? You might dig into that software details and know the details, but in real life you are not aware of that, right? That how this click behaves and send the message to another phone, right? So this is called data abstraction and hiding the complexities. Third concept that I am going to discuss at this point is polymorphism. If you talk theoretically, so polymorphism means having many forms. So poly means many, morph means forms, right? So this basically means that there is something that might behave differently at different point of time. So in that case we can say that there is something which is providing many forms. For example, in C++ there are two concepts. One is operator overloading, that you are going to learn at later stage in this series of lectures, and another thing is function overloading. You will learn this very soon. So these are concepts of polymorphism, and you will learn the concept through example only. So when we are talking about operator overloading, that means one operator can be used in multiple ways. For example, whenever you write C out hello, so you must have noticed that this operator is also called left shift operator, right? But here where we are using it to print something on console, right? So here we are using it in multiple ways. So this is called operator overloading, and you will learn in detail, but as of now this example is fine for you. Similarly, function overloading. So function overloading means there is function with one name, but it has multiple tasks or multiple functioning. So how is that possible? Let us take example. There is a function sum which returns integer, takes two integer a and b, and it return a plus b. So this is one kind of function. Let us write another one. Name is similar, body is also similar, and return statement is also similar. So where is the difference? Let us take one argument, let us take two argument. It is similar till this moment, but I am including third argument c. So whenever I write like this, you can see that these two functions have same name, but compiler will know when to call which function. So if I call it like this, sum 1, 2 and 3, I am sure that this function will be called. But if you write like this 1 and 2, this function is going to call, right? So this is function overloading, and this is an example of polymorphism, right? So polymorphism is heavily used in inheritance, which I am going to discuss shortly. So the fourth point is inheritance. It is capability of a class to derive properties and characteristics from another class. For example, there is a class vehicle. Vehicle could be car, it could be train, it could be bus. So this class at the top is called parent class. In some languages this is called superclass, and the classes at this level are called child classes, or in some languages these are called subclasses. Also you can say that the above classes are called base classes, and the classes which are derived from above are called derived classes, right? So I can write definition for you. This was all about inheritance. So this is also an example which is related to vehicle, and you might not be able to link it with software. So Let me give you another example. When you are writing some software, you must have heard that we are getting version 1, we are getting version 2, version 3, or maybe in between version 1.1 or 1.2 and so on, and similarly version 2.1 and version 2.2 and so on. So how these things are executed? So first of all, when you design version 1, you never write version 1.1 totally again, right? What you do, you can inherit something from here and release version 1.1. Similarly, extend something from version 1.1 and release version 1.2 and so on, right? So this is how the inheritance works in softwares. So I think we have talked a lot about these concepts. In coming lectures, what will we do? We will create a program of C++ and just show some differences between C and C++ program, and again after that I will discuss all these concepts that I have discussed right now using that program. Alright, so if you have any doubt or have any query, you can always write in the comments. You can see it here. So you can always write comments here. So there are no comments. I think you don't have any doubt, but if you have any doubt or if you have any query, always write in the comments. I will respond back. Thank you so much.